Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a great day. It's kind of weird, all the news that we have today kind of like matches each other. It's very odd. Anyway, without further ado, let's jump right into it. Since the 2018 bear market, Dash Core Group, or the DCG, the consortium behind the Dash altcoin, has seemingly gone silent on the public stage, with there being little to no propagation of news regarding the once hyped major project, and as such, some skeptics have deemed the project dead. Yet in a recent Medium post, Ryan Taylor, who is the CEO of DCG, exclaimed that his startup is sustainable and will survive the crash in Bitcoin prices. A couple of days ago, I don't remember if I was looking at news or if I was telling you guys what I had seen. There are a lot of other cryptocurrency projects that are losing a lot of funding. And it's simply because the crypto market is going down. Obviously, if you haven't known, there's a lot of mismanagement of funds that's going on. And you would assume, or rather I would assume, that people who are in finance would be a little bit better when it comes to managing their funds and stuff like that. As far as, like, you know, you can't always assume that there's going to be a bull market taking place and that prices are going to continue going up forever. You have to have some type of a contingency plan for when prices are going to go down, that you have money on the side to be able to keep your project afloat. Dash was one of the coins that came up in a number of spaces across the internet. This had to be anywhere from 4 or 5 days ago at this point. It was sometime last week. And I mentioned that, and people told me that I was spreading FUD, and it's not. I'm not going to mention this again because I'm simply tired of me trying to do something nice and telling people what's happening in the cryptocurrency space, and people say that I'm lying to line my own pockets. The point is, a lot of major cryptocurrency projects that we have right now are losing funding. Ethereum Classic was one of them. This is why I mentioned it in one of the other videos. There are also portions of Ethereum that are losing a little, like they're kind of shaky and they need the market to kind of go back up. Bitcoin is fine because of Blockstream. But if you aren't like a major top 15, top 20 coin, a lot of them are shaking. And part of the problem is that in the cryptocurrency space, I guess the same can be said for the real world as well. People need, in some type of a way, like a constant update. Like, you need to know exactly what's going on, where you have your money. And a lot of cryptocurrency projects have been silent, or relatively silent, simply because they are actually working on developing their platform or trying to do something else on the side. And they think that while prices are down, that this is their moment to be able to do so. But the fact of the matter is that people want to be informed as to what's happening with their investments. They want to know exactly what's happening with the cryptocurrencies that they have invested in before, or the projects that they're interested in. And a lot of them have not been giving regular updates. So a lot of them have been either losing funding or have been deemed dead and or dying, simply because they aren't releasing any type of crypto news. And it may be spurts between like 2 months, 2.5 months, and that's kind of a bit of a long time. Anyway, gonna continue on. You'll kind of get it. Here's the actual tweet that he sent out. It says, in his post, which can only be deemed a wall of text, Taylor first gave some context to crypto's recent collapse, calling out the Bitcoin Cash debacle. He called it FUD as a key catalyst. The DCG chief then noted that there are a number of startups likely shutting down, running out of fumes, or burning through distressed ICO funds, before adding that his firm didn't fall into this unfortunate category. We spoke about that as well before. So what happened was, last year, when the entire hype of the ICO market was happening, everyone was taking out, or rather, the easiest way to say it is that as they were forming their ICOs, they were using Ethereum as their project's funding method, because a lot of these coins are built on Ethereum. And I don't know if it was some type of a conspiracy theory. This is a lot of people think that people were funding their ICOs in Ethereum in order to be able to sell and crash the price later. That's a conversation for another video. What's happening now is that when you denominate anything in Ethereum, and people were doing this around the time the price was anywhere from 600 to around 1400, I think, where it kind of maxed out. And you think that your project's going to continue doing well because you think in your head that a lot of other people thought the exact same thing. Even the people who were who are like hyper bears now, were calling that the price was going to go a lot higher than 1400. People thought that Bitcoin was still going to fall a tiny bit and then jump up to 50,000. Didn't happen. But the point is, they all didn't really cash out of Ethereum because they thought the price would continue to go back up so that they could sell at a higher price and therefore then gain the extra money that they needed to be able to continue their projects. Lo and behold, Ethereum is like $88 or something like that right now. And as a result, a lot of these have to pay their people who are building their projects running on fumes is kind of an understatement. If I end up finding these the articles again, I'll try and put them into one whole video to show you exactly what's happening in the background. It kind of comes down to, first of all, a lot of these projects I never trusted in the first place, so it's kind of interesting that they're completely collapsing as a whole, and it's not major projects or any coins that anyone out there should really be touching in the first place. A lot of these were like scammy ICOs, and they're kind of falling apart. But there are a couple other like names that you will definitely recognize who are losing funding and have had to shut down. Anyway, let's continue on a tiny bit more. Taylor exclaimed that the DCG is not at risk of shutting down anytime soon, nor his fears of laying off substantial amounts of staff due to a significant capital fiat buffer. It has been built up for itself to account for the crypto enamorant with parabolic swings and killer drawdowns. Though the following paragraphs, which were countless, the Dash proponent accentuated the logistics of DCG's buffer, along with the operations so fair and ambitious in the future. And while the topic covered very widely and on the theme, not really that important. A lot of layoffs have been happening as well, and I don't have these things in videos because at a certain point, it just kind of seems to be a bit too much. Tell me in the comment section if you would like to hear about crypto layoffs. I'm pretty sure that's not a topic that anyone really wants to discuss or really talk about, but it's been happening for like major companies, in like actual major companies in the cryptocurrency space, who have had to lay off a number of people. I think there were rumors that Coinbase had to lay off a couple of people, none from Binance. Binance has a relatively small team. But like exchanges and stuff like that have been talking about a couple of other cryptocurrency projects. If you look up Consensus, the Joseph Lubin, I think that's his name, the co-founder of Ethereum, mentioned that should the event of this bear market continue, then some layoffs will have to happen. So this is all definitely happening. I guess we have a proper clarification from the Dash Core group that is not happening to them. That's very good news, simply because I'm not a financial wizard, but when you get into investing, for those who are very new to investing, and you have to prepare for events like this. Like, markets never go up forever. It's just life. Nothing goes up forever in price. You have to make sure, like, this is like when they tell you, like, if you lose your job, make sure you have, like 6 to 9 months or something like that of living expenses. And the fact that a lot of these projects were starting to shut down in the summer because they were expecting the prices to go back up, and they didn't. And now that we are in this situation, it's been 12 months more or less. And a lot of crypto projects are shutting down. On another side note that kind of ties into all of this as well, I've noticed a very new trend. I think in spring it was like the whole like bloodbath thing, and I guess because depending on which hemisphere you're in right now, it is autumn/winter, and we have a lot of everything just talking about a crypto winter. We have just an enormous amount of articles talking about the crypto winter and how the crypto winter is affecting everything. Lightning Network and the growing crypto winter. The crypto winter is going in. What it comes down to is that the prices are where they are right now, and a lot of people are, I don't know. I guess it's just another like little catchphrase that people are trying to use to see if they're trying to get it to catch on. We've had and I think the reason that this is being used, and maybe the reason you may have seen it around very recently, is because a number of people have been going on CNBC or any other places where you get your cryptocurrency news, and they've been talking about that we are in a crypto nuclear winter. And I guess crypto winter seems a little bit nicer to be able to say without the word nuclear inside of it. Anyway, we have analysts talking about that the crypto winter might not thaw until sometime around spring, ironically enough, simply because we need to get everything in place to be able to have a, as I'm reading further on, it's really kind of odd how the news really all ties into each other. So this is also part of it. Hold on, I'm going to read. Kenyan health service provider called Healthland Spa has started taking Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies as a means of payment with a view to increasing accountability and averting losses. Across East Africa, cryptocurrency acceptance is on the rise, with at least 2 restaurants in Uganda and Kenya selling food for virtual currencies. and they show some like pretty photos. Yay, very nice. This is happening in a lot of places around the world, and when we go further into the video, and I mean, I don't know if it's just very obvious to me or maybe a lot of other people right now, but I'm happy that this is actually happening, that there are so many places around the world who are actually starting to get it. And I had hoped for a long time that this would actually be how it was. That's not even smaller countries. It's just countries that have a smaller economic force than let's say the US or Europe kind of have started to accept cryptocurrencies and are starting to do it at an accelerated rate, simply because whether it be from hyperinflation or whether it be from anything else, the fact that it's happening is making me very happy, because I am of the mindset that a lot of countries are being left behind because they are at the moment economically strong, and they think that that's going to last forever. And I hope that crypto for its intended use actually ends up happening, i.e. Smaller economically powerful countries, I have no idea what the word would even be for that, actually continue getting into cryptocurrencies, simply because it's going to benefit them. And should we end up having these massive Bitcoin prices, these will be the people who end up coming out on top. But on that same topic, once again, there's another article that kind of ties all into this. So like, we were talking about the US's approach to cryptocurrency, and I think when you kind of tie it all together and you put all the puzzle pieces in the same exact spot, it ends up just making the situation look completely ridiculous. A law professor has reached an unflattering conclusion regarding the regulatory climate of the cryptocurrency space in the United States. According to Carol Goforth, who teaches at the University of Arkansas School of Law, she said overlapping regulations produced by a multitude of distinct agencies with different missions and priorities has resulted in a confusing mix of classifications and requirements for crypto assets. To illustrate her point, here's where it gets really, really good. Goforth noted that there are 4 legal agencies, federal agencies in the United States, which regulate cryptocurrencies to a certain degree and form. They are the Securities and Exchange Commission, or the SEC, who you've heard me talk about 1,000,001 times, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, or the CFTC, who we've spoken about before, but not to the same extent as the SEC. We also have the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, or FinCEN, and we also have the Internal Revenue Service, or the IRS. If you were born in the States, you definitely know what the IRS is. Consequently, the various federal agencies have varying definitions of crypto assets, and this sows complexity and confusion. Here we go. In its regulatory role, the SEC, for instance, treats the issuance of new digital currencies as securities. The CFTC, on the other hand, views all crypto assets as commodities, while the IRS sees crypto as property. In contrast, FinCEN regulates cryptocurrency exchanges as money exchangers, effectively leading to the conclusion that the U.S. Department of Treasury Bureau views crypto assets as currency. So, I mean, I thought that the situation was a bit more confusing in other countries, but it seems like the U.S. kind of takes the cake on this. I don't know if there's, I really don't know. I don't know if there's like a power struggle between these 4 institutions or agencies or whatever, who are trying to make sure that their foot is in the door further than someone else, so that they can regulate cryptocurrencies more than the other guy. Don't know exactly what's going on, but now it seems to make a bit more sense as to why. Can you imagine having a crypto exchange or crypto anything, a crypto company inside of the States? And this is why we've seen so many of them leaving. There was a huge exodus around the summertime, and even before that, like around spring. Remember, we had multiple crypto exchanges who were leaving the States, or they were like, people were getting emails and stuff like that talking about, yeah, our project has left so and so and so. If you are located in this country, or this country, please withdraw your coins because we cannot help you anymore. Imagine having to need a securities license. Imagine what you're trying to sell or buy or hold or give to other people is seen as a commodity. Imagine having to get a money exchanging license. This was also a really big thing a couple of months ago, where I can't remember who it was. There were people who were just running a normal cryptocurrency exchange. So you're either treated as your a money transfer service, or that you're selling securities or offloading securities that may not be regulated by the SEC, or you're selling property, or you're selling commodities, which I'm going to just, offhandedly assume that you probably need multiple pieces of paper to show that you can sell, buy, and or hold and or divvy out commodities as well. Kind of completely insane. Inevitably, the varying definitions by the different agencies results in over-regulation, since each entity has its own requirements which must be met. Trying to comply with the numerous regulatory obligations thus becomes expensive and time-consuming for the players in the sector. The situation gets worse on the state level, since every state in the union has its own set of securities. Why? My gosh. Currently, only a handful of states have determined that crypto assets should be exempted from state securities laws. I'm actually shocked at this point that everyone, and I don't mean, I guess, normal everyday people, but as far as like crypto companies and crypto exchanges, that they all haven't left the United States. That sounds completely insane. Like, I know that the situation isn't that great in many other countries as well, but we've seen some type of harmonious experience come from the other countries where it's usually the situation that everything is kind of ruled over by the right hand of their central bank, and the central bank kind of has typically sometimes the final say of what's exactly going to happen. When you have 4 agencies, I'm actually shocked, and I think this is maybe why Coinbase and the Gemini exchange are so praised, because they walked through fire just to kind of do all this other stuff, and this is why they haven't really gotten that big, or why we've seen Coinbase trying to expand across the world. I mean, I'm sure that the money is there within the states, and if they don't do it, someone else will definitely go through what they have to in order to get all these blah blah blahs. But the point is, I've said this before, and I felt like the U.S. was going to have a problem. And it seems like it's finally happening, because it's just completely insane. Everyone is so, and the thing that I find the most fascinating out of all of this, and I mean out of all of this, is that instead of, and I guess this is just how human greed works, instead of actually looking deep into the cryptocurrency projects or in cryptocurrency itself and trying to figure out how this could benefit your country, every single one of these things is just pretty much trying to figure out how they can control it. And make money from it. Like, it has not. Imagine if we had countries. What was that thing that we heard yesterday with all the Southern European countries who are coming together to try and make sure that blockchain adoption like happens, and that people are like well versed on it and like in multiple levels of education. Can you imagine if these 4 things came together and they were like, no, actually, we're going to try to make sure that the U.S. is number 1 in the entire thing. We're going to have a thing so that every one of our citizens knows exactly what cryptocurrencies are, what blockchain is. We're going to start introducing some type of a blockchain course in all levels of school so that we are the leaders in all of this. But instead, everyone is trying to step on crypto's neck as much as possible. I still don't think, and this is just my opinion, we'll see in about 2 years. I'm going to come back, and if I don't remember this one video, it'll stick in the back of my head regardless. We're going to see, in my opinion, that the U.S. is definitely probably going to have a pretty strong hold on the cryptocurrency market, but they won't be the leader anymore. I think their time is done. I think other countries, I can only imagine what's happening behind the scenes. A little quick side note for those who aren't actually aware of what's going on in the normal world of finance. There's a huge thing going on right now where multiple countries around the world are trying to, and they are getting away from the U.S. dollar simply because they're tired of the pressures that the U.S. is putting on them to have to use or denominate a lot of things in U.S. dollars in order for them to be able to do stuff in their own country. A lot of times you have to actually swap into U.S. dollars, buy something that you're trying to buy, and then swap out of it just to show that you have actually used the U.S. dollars. Not going to get too deep into that. So what we actually have is a situation now. This was actually a year and a half ago, where China had a coalition, and I think a couple of European countries actually joined in on it as well, where they pretty much were trying to get the Chinese yuan, I think it's called, used as the new world reserve currency, because China has easier policies compared to what the United States has in regards to the economic sovereignty of other countries. And I'm pretty sure, I can only imagine what's happening behind the scenes. I can only imagine what kind of talks are going on, especially if we have news that multiple other countries are talking about creating their own central bank digital currencies, even after the U.S. has told other countries not to do it because it would so-and-so's blah, 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 and blah, blah, so-and-so. The fact that they're still going along with it, I can only imagine how many other countries behind the scenes are talking about getting into cryptocurrencies or building some type of cryptocurrency infrastructure to be able to get away from what's happening with U.S. economic policies. Anyway, that's at least how I see things. The U.S. is definitely not even taking a back seat. They're a couple blocks back at this point when it comes to cryptocurrency, anything. I think if they had just kind of come together, but I mean, you really can't. When you have the difference between commodities, futures, property, and simply money is just far too vast. I think it would have been a lot simpler for everything to just be considered legal tender / money within the United States. But I think that is even a too far of a stretch. That also undermines the value of the US dollar, which we can't have. But it's going to happen kind of whether they want it or not. And I think there's some, in my eyes, there's some type of a power struggle going on. And yeah, that's kind of all that I'm going to say on that. But let's move on. I'm going to try and sprint through this one as I can. Speaking to the complementary efforts of developers working on two separate upgrades to the Ethereum blockchain, one dubbed Ethereum 2.0 and the other one dubbed Ethereum 1X, Raul Jordan insists upgrades to be included in Ethereum 1X on a shorter term horizon would have the benefits to ongoing research for Ethereum 2.0. To kind of sum it all up, it says 8 teams are sprinting to build the next generation of Ethereum. A lot of people are, and I knew this was going to eventually happen. What's happening is right now is that Ethereum is lagging behind in everything. The upgrades that we were told that were going to happen have not come to fruition. They're just simply not there. And we have a lot of other cryptocurrency projects who are desperately trying to make sure that they're building Ethereum quick enough. I do applaud these people for everything that they're doing. But the fact of the matter is that a lot of other cryptocurrency projects are already far and beyond what Ethereum should, in my opinion, be already doing with the project. But as it is right now, we have a lot of, there's just so much stuff happening in the background. I'm not exactly sure how a lot of this stuff is even going to be implemented because as far as I gather from many other cryptocurrency projects, you need like network consensus, and a lot of people who are building these other, I don't know if they're going to simply be side chains and they're going to be linked onto the actual Ethereum blockchain. A lot of them are like major upgrades that are going to change the way that Ethereum actually works. They're trying. They're desperately trying. I hope they eventually end up getting it together. This is why I said I was going to breeze through this. I was not reading all 8 different companies who are trying to actively make Ethereum 2.0 or 1X or whatever you kind of want to call it. We still don't have proof of stake. We still don't have sharding. We still don't have the plasma million transactions per second. Whenever that's going to happen is probably sometime in the future. But I think it's interesting now, and I said this before. I said this sometime during this summer. I felt like in my I do not know the people from Ethereum. I can only assume at this point that they are a little upset at me not giving their project praise. I can only imagine what Vitalik would say about me. He doesn't hold back anymore. I feel like that they kind of got comfortable in the spot that they were in, and that was in the number 2 spot, simply because I think that they thought that they weren't going to be leaving that spot anytime soon because they were the golden child. But as of right now, if you look at the news, and I'm going to start trying to put a bit more of them in. I didn't before because every time I mention something like this, people are like, stop shilling your bag, stop throwing FUD, stop blah, 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 blah. There are a lot of, it's mainly like EOS and Tron. They are seemingly at the moment, the main 2 contenders who are going against the Ethereum network, and the amount of money that they have behind them, especially behind EOS, with like they raised $4 billion with a B for their ICO, and I think $1 billion with a B has been dedicated to just building applications that are going to be used on the EOS network. Just $1 billion of the 4 so we're getting to a point right now where other you have to call them 2.0 or 3.0 blockchains, depending on how you look at the cryptocurrency space. A lot of people consider them blockchain 3.0s. They are coming for Ethereum. They have the funding and they have the speed right now. And a lot of other projects are trying to make sure that Ethereum eventually does have this speed, but the implementations are taking too long, and it'll eventually, it'll get there eventually. It's not going to not happen on the Ethereum network, but the fact of the matter is, Ethereum has competition, and this is why it keeps getting, or rather it has been knocked out of the number 2 spot. And I wouldn't be shocked if at some point Ethereum ends up hitting like the number 4 or 5 spot. Like I really wouldn't be surprised at all. Just my personal take on the cryptocurrency space thingy. Alrighty, let's move on. So to kind of finish it off, India is in the news, and this is it's a conclusion to a non-conclusion, if that kind of makes any sense. The Indian government panel appointed to recommend cryptocurrency measures has reportedly submitted its report to the country's finance minister, suggesting a new legal framework for cryptocurrencies. The actual content of the report has yet to be announced publicly. Industry participants weigh in on speculation about the report's content. So this is, for those who haven't been paying attention, to those who are relatively new here, India has a lot of people. Don't know if you know that. They are widely believed as at the moment, cryptocurrencies are banned but allowed inside of India. There is no proper formal framework for exactly what's happening inside of India with cryptocurrencies, i.e., some of their finance ministers have kind of come forward and said that this is illegal. You can't do this. We had a number of their major cryptocurrency exchanges inside of India who have shut down, whether it comes from funding or because they weren't able to have a bank help them open up a bank account because the banks were then barred from being able to help the cryptocurrency exchanges within India. So we have a situation right now where we've been waiting. I am not in India myself, but people in India, and I guess the crypto community at large, have been waiting for the possibility of 1 billion people being allowed to get into the cryptocurrency space, because India is once again believed to be, or could be, a major cog in the wheel. I don't know how to really express that. A major player in the cryptocurrency space because of how many people in that country are actually into cryptocurrencies. So over this year, 2018, it's crazy that it's almost 2019, have been trying to get cryptocurrency laws happening in India. We've had multiple times where the government has simply told us, okay, yeah, we're going to wait 6 more weeks. And that 6 weeks has now turned into 12 months. And it is now time for the Indian government to finally give us, or the world, or even just the Indian people, some type of clarification as to exactly what cryptocurrencies are in their country. The panel appointed by the Indian government to draft a set of standards for cryptocurrencies has submitted its report to the finance minister. This was said by CNBC TV 18 on Friday. Quoting anonymous sources, because they're always anonymous, the news outlet wrote, ending the speculation on virtual currencies such as cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin, a government panel has suggested that the government should consider framing a new law for regulating that space. The panel is headed by Subhash Chandra Garg, the country's economic affairs secretary. I assume that's this guy. In November, Quartz India reported that the government's counter affidavit filed with the country's Supreme Court stated that this panel could deliberate the draft report and the provisions of the draft-based bill on virtual currencies in December. Long story short, we are in December, for those who didn't notice, and it is now time for them to kind of give us some type of information. What happened a couple days ago is that there was articles like this floating around. It says Indian government panel suggests crypto dealing should be illegal. And we have kind of conflicting answers really going on right now. So we have people in the country of India, from what I have read and what I have seen and what we have seen around for the last 12 months, who believe that cryptocurrencies should be illegal. They should not be allowed in the country, that they are detrimental in some sort of way to the economic policies of the country. We've also had instances where we've heard that there are, I don't know if they're economic finance ministers. I can't really tell you exactly what's going on. There's just so many names being thrown around and so many titles that people have. It's impossible to keep up with all of them. Who are talking about that only select cryptocurrencies should be allowed within the country, which I also think is kind of weird, but we have seen situations already before where there have been other countries around the world who have only allowed certain cryptocurrencies that are allowed inside of their countries. Exactly what's going to happen, no one knows. If we actually get a final answer in December, I would be shocked. Them talking about that they were going to give information at the beginning of this year and it's the end of the year and we still have nothing, absolutely no type of information, I believe could be because, and this is just how I kind of feel about the situation, I think everyone is still waiting on the US to give them proper clarification, i.e. nobody wants to give out laws or information on what could be happening with cryptocurrencies without the U.S. kind of doing it. I still am maybe I'm just not deep enough into finance, or maybe I'm just not in the club enough to understand why countries are so under the thumb of the U.S. Like, I get it. I do research. Believe me, I understand what's going on. I do get it. Anyway, hopefully this ends up happening soon. Hopefully we get some type of a clarity. We had news before that apparently, like I said, I think cryptocurrencies are legal in India, but I think it's illegal to do like certain things with them. And those things pretty much come down to like doing anything with them. Like, I think like buying or selling or trading them or something like that. All these things are illegal. I mean, I really can't tell you at this point. I hope that they end up having something favorable to the entire situation. We should hopefully see in the next couple of weeks, hopefully. And to kind of, end things off, cryptocurrency prices aren't doing too bad. A couple of minutes ago, even before like I started the video, Bitcoin was around like 34.80, somewhere around there. I think about a day or two ago, XRP had dropped below 29 cents, and people were talking about the bears had taken hold. XRP's done for. XRP's never going to make it back up above 30 cents again, and now we're at 31 cents. Yeah, okay. Everything seems to be doing relatively well. There was something that happened about a day or two ago. Something happened with Ethereum. I can't remember exactly the situation where Ethereum was below $90, and I guess it's a bit above right now. There was a type of an uptick in the price because of some good news that Ethereum had. Like, something played a part in its price really going up. Nothing is really doing too bad right now. The Bitcoin Cash SV thing is still happening in the background. For those of you who've ever watched the cartoon called South Park, and you know how, like, for those of you who watched it, there's like always a situation where there are people in the show who are like having a huge discussion amongst themselves, and they think that the situation is a lot more important, or that they think that other people actually care about the situation when they really don't. This is kind of what's happening between Roger Ver and Craig Wright right now. They're going on multiple TV shows. Craig Wright was talking about that Bitcoin Cash SV is going to be able to have 1 terabyte blocks in the future, and therefore it's going to become the number one coin. And Roger Ver has gone on multiple television shows the last week talking about the crypto bear market and how he's still extremely bullish on the future of Bitcoin. For those who don't know, Roger Ver thinks that Bitcoin Cash is Bitcoin, and so does Craig Wright. He also thinks that Bitcoin Cash SV is also Bitcoin. So the market sentiment is not really favoring these two at the moment. Besides that, there's no real other negative news. There's no really major oh my gosh news. There was also something where people were trying to figure out if the Coinbase effect had died out, simply because when Coinbase announced that they would potentially, maybe in the future, if it was in their best interest, to possibly try and think about adding XRP to their platform, that the price of XRP didn't move, and people were like, why didn't it move? Has the Coinbase effect died? No, people are just kind of tired of Coinbase. I think I think Circle has overtaken them in some aspect. I think Binance has definitely blown them completely to the side, but I think Coinbase is, I think they're the number one ranking in, I think, amount of users, but many other cryptocurrency exchanges have already passed them in some other way. And what we have right now is that everyone actually looks towards Binance to be able to add stuff and talk about, and now what everyone's waiting for is Binance adding fiat pairings. When Binance adds fiat pairings, Coinbase is kind of left behind in the dust. They've taken far too long. This is why there wasn't a, first of all, people in the XRP community have been burned before by Coinbase, and until I think Coinbase actually officially adds it 100% and it goes off without a hitch, then the market, I think, of XRP will start to move up a bit more. But besides the fact, you can't tell people that you could potentially maybe think about adding something, and it was so clear in their wording as well. I had a friend, hello if you're listening, I doubt it, and he was asking me why Coinbase does stuff like that. Why don't they just add coins? He's like, Binance, Poloniex, Circle, like everyone else, they continue to simply just add cryptocurrencies, and then they have an announcement. And Coinbase is like, yeah, we're thinking about adding 31 coins, but we may not. We could add this one, but we're not certain. Have we thought about adding Cardano? Yeah, we've thought about it. We've had discussions, but are we going to do it? We don't know yet. We'll let you decide. And it's kind of like just add it. Like them making an entire fiasco out of the entire thing just makes the situation more ridiculous. Like if you wait months talking about that you're going to add a coin and then the price ends up going up by 3% before they end up adding a coin into their platform, this is why they end up getting accused of insider trading. Just add 30 coins at once. No one's going to be upset at you, I promise. Just get the market moving. Anyway, besides that, there's been no other negative information or like any type of negative news. I think one or two other of the coins that were being added, where were they? I don't even think they're even on maybe the top 50 of the coins that had the last 4 that had been added by Coinbase. Those other ERC20 tokens, I think they saw a slight uptick in price and people were contributing that to them being added, or rather the information that they had been added to Coinbase, finally getting around to the rest of the cryptocurrency sphere. Who knows exactly what's going on? Anyway, methinks that's going to do it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed. Hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, and or evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. Hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you once again for watching and or listening. I do appreciate all of your support. What was the other thing? I can't remember for the life of me. I don't remember what it was. My goodness. Someone mentioned something in the last video and I meant to address it. Oh, that's going to drive me crazy. I'll figure out what it is and I'll try and talk about it in the next video. I think it was somebody said that I said something wrong or something was incorrect and it wasn't. I don't remember what it was at all for the life of me. Anyway, thank you all once again. And yeah, I will talk to you all soon. See you.